Put it in front of my face. Hello, everybody. My name is Danny Caparati,
I'm Max Brixner.
and our topic for the high-profile negotiation analysis project was Brexit negotiations. So you may be asking yourself, you may be finding a particular question in your head. What is Brexit? Well, that was a really delayed one. Well,
Yeah, that went well.
well, Brexit is the UK's decision to leave the European Union, which is a large group of European countries that establishes a lot of trade power and negotiations, huge economic affairs, determined by the 2016 referendum where 52% voted to exit. So the aftermath led to over 3 years of negotiations to navigate the separation from the EU, covering trade, economic, and policy aspects. And the official withdrawal occurred on January 31st, 2020, right before that global pandemic, which concluded 47 years of interconnected relations between the United Kingdom and the European Union. So I'm just going to use a quick analogy real quick, and I'm going to use my soccer background to kind of describe how impactful this Brexit negotiations and the UK actually exiting the European Union really was to the global economy, trade affairs in Europe, and all over the world for that matter. So whenever you see somebody tackle somebody really hard, and they slide tackle somebody in soccer and they get knocked down so hard and it looks like they got a concussion, people call that a Brexit challenge. So when you go in and challenge somebody, obviously you're contesting them, and if you're doing a Brexit challenge, you're coming in with full force. You are nonstop. It is just you are hammering what's in front of you. So that's really what Brexit did to the world, for that matter, with these negotiations. This is such a monumental and historical impact on our world economy, world trade, you name it. It's such a huge factor. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Max, and Max is going to share what the compromises in the UK European Union trade agreement are.
So one of the big things that the United Kingdom was originally pushing for was a free trade agreement with the European Union. And pretty early on in negotiations, the European Union was like, well, hey, you can't get the benefits of being in the European Union without being in the European Union. So that was a huge series of negotiations. And then in the end, the agreement it upheld the UK's independence, but there were numerous concessions that had to be made in order for everyone to agree. One of the biggest compromises is the Northern Ireland Protocol. So the Northern Ireland Protocol was a part of the initial withdrawal agreement, and the goal of it was to avoid having a hard border between Northern Ireland, which was a member of the United Kingdom, and the Republic of Ireland, which is a European Union member. So the problem with this was that the custom checks that they had in the original withdrawal agreement created essentially an internal border in the United Kingdom between Northern Ireland and then the full United Kingdom. And so shortly after this, they introduced the Windsor Framework. And what that does is it distinguishes goods that are staying in Northern Ireland or going all the way into the Republic of Ireland. So throughout the negotiation process, both integrative and distributive approaches were used. So things like citizens' rights use more of an integrative approach, and then things that were more, numbers based, had more, concrete resolutions to them. Those were more distributive. Political and social considerations were a huge part of it. And everyone had a different opinion on what that outcome should look like. People who supported Brexit, they saw everything as successful. They were looking to get their independence. People on the other side, they're kind of like, there was no benefit to it, and it kind of just harmed everybody.
So Brexit, as I mentioned, has had a huge global impact on the world economy, imports, exports, and the value of the pound. And it triggered a lot of sociocultural effects in the United Kingdom and in Europe for that matter. So a big thing that I wanted to key on as far as impact goes is employment. You can tell employment is super, super important to any world economy. So a study indicated that a substantial impact on employment with 330,000 fewer workers in sectors like transport, hospitality, and retail. So this is such a major, major thing because when you look at it, total employment in the US is considered anything below 3.5% unemployed. So that means that like an entire 10% of all United Kingdom jobs were lost due to these negotiations. So that is a huge major negative impact. Comparing the UK to other G7 economies, it stands as the only one with a decline. It declined about 0.4% totally as far as GDP goes, while others collectively rose by 11.4%. So 6 other countries raised their economies 11.4% total, and the UK was the only singular country to decline. This shows a major, major effect as far as global impact goes. And despite notable economic changes, positive changes for the UK emerged post-Brexit negotiations, which I'm about to share. So the challenges of post-Brexit, Great Britain was successful in avoiding the most obvious, clear, disruptive, destructful pitfalls, quoted as reasonable worst-case scenarios in cross-channel trade, preventing the massive social and economic challenges goes within the countries. So it was essentially a bullet dodged in that sense. The UK's resilience during the pandemic showed its ability to sustain trade independently, contributing to increased consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is super, super important in the economy, and they were able to establish that through their resilience. Despite global challenges, the UK's key export markets became less reliant on UK goods, and the UK itself became less dependent on foreign goods. So became much more independent, much like what a lot of US presidents are pushing for. And the aftermath of Brexit, coupled with the pandemic, revealed potential success in negotiations with positive implications for the long-term stability of the UK economy. So it prevailed through that huge economy that I mentioned, or that huge pandemic, I'm sorry, that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Super, super, super good sign for the resilience of that UK economy being so low from the European Union. And the conclusion. In 2016, the UK referendum decision to leave the EU triggered complex negotiations after 47 years of economic ties. Huge deal, huge historical piece. And it reshaped not only the UK's economy, but it also influenced the global economic landscape as far as trade affairs and exports and imports go. Beyond the UK, the outcomes of Brexit post-negotiations about future trade endeavors impact economic decisions globally and cast the uncertainty of the stability of the European currency. So it definitely had a major impact on consumer confidence and the UK pound.
Yeah, so the ongoing certainty around Brexit kind of points it as a major economic event. It's even acknowledged as one of the most significant economic events in history. And researchers are still going to study the long-term effects of Brexit. We're only 3 years out from it, so there's still a lot for us to kind of wait and see how things settle.
All righty. Well, thank you all for listening and letting us share our presentation about Brexit. Max, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you.
Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Take care.